And tonight we are diving into the emotional roller coaster called relationships. From trauma bonds to boundaries, invite people to comment or share where they're watching from. Where are you watching from? Okay, I think that was a prompt, but listen, I'm getting new to this, okay? So please, please be gracious. So let me go ahead and invite some guests, but please invite some friends and family. Okay? I'm trying to invite all the peeps. All the peeps. All right. I'm sorry if you inviting you. I'm inviting you to the live. Yes. And so tonight we're talking about relationships, right? Relationships. Because you know what? Even if you're in a healthy relationship, I believe that we all have relationship issues from time to time. And that's okay. That's what makes us human, right? So there is no shame in that. Okay? There is no shame in that. So let me go ahead and invite some folks in. Thank you. I see you. Martha Infuse, yes. Invite your friends. We're live on YouTube, we're live on TikTok, and we're talking about relationship issues. Hello, yes. And so, this is a safe space, guys. You're not alone in your struggles. And whether you're dealing with heartbreak, confusion, or healing, you are. Thank you for sending the invite. I appreciate the likes. Yes, thank you. And I see you as well on YouTube. All right. So I'm going to start with the first question. I often get questions emailed to me from YouTube about relationships. And so, the question I'm going to answer is, why do we repeat toxic relationship patterns? That is a good question, and that's a question that I'm even struggling with from time to time when it comes to not just intimate partner relationships, friendships, family, right? With colleagues. Why do we repeat toxic? Well, there's a couple of factors, right? The answer is not always so neat as we want it to be. The first is that sometimes there's trauma bonds. And trauma bonds is really tricky, guys, because sometimes trauma bonds feel stronger than love, believe it or not. So you feel connected to someone thinking like, wow, like I'm head over heels, it's intense, we got this amazing bond, but it's because you have shared trauma. What's something else? Just being familiar to toxic patterns. If you grew up in a home that was toxic, yes, you meet someone toxic, it's like it's Tuesday. Ain't nothing new, okay? You're familiar with it. And when we're familiar with things, sometimes we don't notice that they're. Yeah, that can be a big thing. That can be a big thing. And so, what are some other factors? What are some other factors? And for those who coming in, tell me where you tuning in from. I'm in Philadelphia, PA, originally from New York. Where are you repping? Okay, where are you repping? All right, I see you. And so, yes, I see you, Jelly MHA on YouTube. Hello. Okay, where are you joining us from? Now, the next factor when it comes to toxic relationship patterns is unhealed wounds. Perhaps you've been in a couple of toxic relationships and you haven't healed. You just jumping from one person to the next, rebound. Okay? That is not going to help you, right? That is not going to help you because you haven't healed. And so you're being re-triggered. It's like pouring salt to the wound. All right. It's pouring salt to the wound. All right. Let's see here. All right, Jelly. You're in the hospital right now. Wow. I'm sorry to hear about that. I hope you feel better soon. But thank you for joining us from YouTube. All right. And so sending you love. Now, what type of relationship dynamic do you fall into? I want you to think about that for a minute. That's a hard question to ask because sometimes we're like, ooh, we don't want to admit that we are attracted to a certain type or fall into a certain type of relationship over and over again. Okay, whether we're the giver and we're constantly surrounded by takers, that could be one. That could be a huge one. Yes, yes. And so I'm gonna give you a second to ask another question. All right. Hi, Lisette. Thanks for joining us. We are talking about relationship patterns, issues. Okay. The first one is question we just answered is why do we repeat toxic patterns? So we're gonna go into the second question. If anybody missed the beginning, you can always catch the replay on YouTube. Okay. I am on YouTube as well. All right. So the second question, is it normal to feel anxious in a healthy relationship? Okay. Oh, I see a question from TikTok. I like, or a comment. I like women to take control. Then when they do, I fight for my control back. Oh, that's a good one. A lot of times we are attracted to that. Someone who's assertive, who takes control. But sometimes what you're attracted to after a prolonged time, you start to dislike. Like, you start to say, wait a minute, control, right? Could be someone who's also strong-willed, right? They're assertive, which is great. But the other side is, ooh, you're a little strong-willed, and maybe you cross some boundaries from time to time. That's the part where we gotta snatch our control back. Absolutely, Martha. That's a good point. That's a good point. And so don't be shy, guys. Feel free to ask your questions, share your comments. So we're gonna go to the second question. Is it normal to feel anxious in a healthy relationship? Well, the answer to that is yes. It can happen in a healthy relationship. Why, you might say? Because everything is like, you have a safe space. Why would you feel anxious? Well, if you're used to chaos, calmness can feel eerie, like a scary movie. Listen, I'm originally from Brooklyn. I live in Philly. So whenever I'm like in the boondocks, and I'm in the area where it's not just suburbs, but I'm talking about the next house is like miles away. If I cry for help, ain't nobody gonna hear that. That just oof. For some people, they love that. They're like, listen, I don't want to be close to anybody. I don't want to hear my neighbors. I want to hear my neighbors, guys. So it is what you're used to. So if you're used to chaos, roller coaster relationship, 1 minute they like you, 1 minute they're not. 1 minute you don't know what's going on. Jekyll and Hyde personality. You just don't know what version of a partner you're gonna get, and you're used to that. Let me tell you, that peace can feel boring, unsafe if you're used to drama. Okay, I'm gonna say that again for those in the back. If you're used to toxic relationship, a peaceful relationship can feel boring. That's not your intuition. That's trauma talking. And I've in fact had clients who were like, I'm in this healthy relationship, but I just have the itch to like sabotage it, like cheat, and I'm never that person. And I always say, well, maybe you need to just a little adrenaline rush. So go to a range room, go and shoot some guns or something, but please don't destroy your relationship, okay? Sometimes we need that, okay? You can get that high a different way. Go to the theme park, okay? Don't destroy your relationship. So that's question number 2. Is it normal to feel anxious in a healthy relationship? So thanks for joining the live. I see you, Chaos. I see you also on YouTube. I'm here to answer your relationship questions, okay? Or your comments. You can comment. So do not be shy. This is a safe space, all right? And so the third question that I got emailed to me from the YouTube family is, where are some red flags? What are some red flags, rather, that we tend to ignore? That's a good question. What are some red flags that we tend to ignore? And thanks for sending the likes. I see you on YouTube. I see you on TikTok. I appreciate it. Well, the first one is hard. Love bombing. Who? Raise your hand if you ever been love bombed. Listen, I love me some love bombing because you just feel so elated, like, oh my goodness, you're on top of the world. Somebody just worshiping at your feet. But let me tell you, no one should be worshipped. Okay, that's a red flag. Gaslighting. Your own sanity. Like, did you really say that? I don't remember you saying that, right? Or you said, this is how I feel. Well, I don't think you should feel that way, right? That's crossing emotional boundaries. Who is someone to tell you how to feel, right? And if you feel like you're walking on eggshells around your partner, yeah, that's a huge sign that you don't want to ignore, okay? So there's also inconsistency. One minute they're hot, and it's usually when they want something. Okay, that's toxic. Very selfish. I'm gonna be hot when I want something from you. And then when I finally get my needs met, bye, right? Discarded. That's never a good feeling. Okay, that's never a good feeling. So when you're in a relationship like that, you will feel drained. You will feel drained, confused, and on edge because you're like, what just happened? And okay, it's never a good feeling. And so, what are some other red flags? This is a huge one. They mock your emotions or avoid accountability. Okay, no one should be mocking your emotions. All right, like, haha, it's no, that is emotional abuse. We gotta call it, and it's not wrong being sarcastic. I like me a little humor from time to time, you know, but it's like, if you're being sarcastic with me 80% of the time, that's an issue. It's no longer comedy right now, okay? If you're being sarcastic 80% of the time, it's no longer comedy. Now you are emotionally abusive. Damage, as my sons will say, okay? Emotional damage. And so that is the answer to what are some red flags. And thank you. I see you guys joining. I am Tay. I see you, Hot Mess Comedy, and I see you on YouTube. And so we're gonna go and take a little break. If you have any relationship questions, don't be shy. I'm here to give you advice, okay? Free advice. And for those who don't know, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been doing this for 15 years, licensed in Pennsylvania and Jersey, okay? And so, let's see what the next question will be. Drum roll, please. Let's see. So the next email question that I got for you is, this is a good one. What's the difference between boundaries and control? Okay, kind of going with what Martha was saying before. Oh, you gotta, you're okay. Don't worry about it, Martha. Thank you for joining us. Okay, yes, check back in. Yes. Now, what's the difference between boundaries and control? Well, boundaries protect your peace. Okay, peace of mind. Control tries to change others. Control try to change others. So example, I'm gonna give you an example. I need time for myself. That's a boundary. If I tell my partner, my friend, and thank you for the likes, I appreciate it, I need time for myself, that's healthy. We all do. No matter how much you love someone, you're gonna need a break from them from time to time, okay? Versus, you're not allowed to go out. Control. Right? You're not allowed. In other words, you're a prisoner of your home. Why? Why would someone do this? It could be trust issues, but if you are struggling like this, get help, whether it's counseling, life coaching, or maybe another older couple that's been through it, right? Because, there's other methods, right? Group therapy. So, what is a boundary you had to set recently with your partner? Okay. What is a boundary that you had to set recently with your partner? And if you can't remember setting a boundary for a couple of months, you might be enabling someone who's a boundary bulldozer. Okay, boundaries are key. They're healthy. All right, they're healthy. And so consider that. What is a boundary you had to set recently? Maybe not just a partner, with a colleague, right? With a friend. It's key. It's key. And so let's take a break here to see if you have any other questions. I am loving the energy. We are live on TikTok and YouTube talking about relationship issues. Okay. I don't act like their relationship, because you could tell from the feed is perfect. They lying. Okay. Yes. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Yes. Yes. Betsy every day is showing some love. Now, see what the next question is. Let's see what the next question is. Question 5. How do unresolved trauma and anxiety affect our love life? Woo! That is a huge one. Unresolved trauma and anxiety. Yes, it does. I hate to say it, affect the love life, okay? How so? Because when you have unresolved trauma, you're hyper vigilant, okay? Meaning that you're on edge, okay? People might look at you and say, are you like flinching, you hear sound, you constantly think of the worst case scenario. Sometimes you may emotionally shut down. Therefore, you can't hold space for your partner, because let's say your partner comes in and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. You can't even hold space for them. It becomes triggering for you, and you just say, I can't deal with this. And they're just like, what? There's also clinginess. All right. So you're very clingy if you're anxious, and if you have an anxious attachment style. You're very clingy to your partner, and that can create codependency. Now, don't get me wrong, there should be interdependency. We kind of depend on each other here and there, little by little. But codependency is like on steroids. Like, you're doing, you're on the phone for 6 hours, 6 hours a day. I've worked with people who are on the phone with their partner for 6 hours a day until they were snoring, and they hang up the phone. They have to be on FaceTime. It's just like every moment. And if they don't hear from their partner for 30 minutes, it's like, fear of abandonment. You're so afraid that they're going to leave you, that you need their location, you need their, I know it takes you 15 minutes to get home from work. So what was the holdup? Maybe it was traffic. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? But that's real. Self-sabotage when things go well. Yeah. You might say, well, how's that trauma? When things go well, you self-sabotage because you're used to chaos. So it's too calm. So I'm going to create chaos. I'm going to pick a fight with you. I don't like the way you was chewing. Okay. I'm just saying, it happens. It happens. And so, yes, we want to work on healing. So how do we heal, guys? Well, one really great tool is journaling. And I like to journal using the cognitive behavioral therapy prompts. So you want to consider the first prompt is what happened, right? So you think about your day in chronological order. Number 2, how do I feel? 3, what are my inner thoughts? We think thousands of thoughts to ourselves. Many times we don't even notice it. It's replaying over and over again, and it's affecting our mood, our actions, the words that come out of our mouth. Once we acknowledge our inner thoughts, right, we want to ask ourselves, number 4, is there any evidence to support these thoughts? So a form of reality testing. Is there any evidence to support these thoughts? Am I tripping? Or is there any evidence to contradict these thoughts? And finally, how do I feel now? Okay. And if you want more tools like that, check me out on YouTube, okay, for my TikTok family. Now that you have the prompts, it's up to you to utilize them. So twice a week, use those prompts, and what's going to happen is only 6 prompts. Over time, you're going to memorize it. And you're pretty much memorizing the CBT model, cognitive behavioral therapy model. So I just gave you a quick hack because I'm all about educating, empowering, because with knowledge, we can heal, guys. You have the power to heal yourself. You know that? You have the power to heal yourself. With a counselor, a coach, a therapist, you do it at an accelerated rate, but you do have the power to heal yourself. If you can place boundaries, you can give yourself balance, journal, spend time in nature, process those hard feelings instead of running from them. Oh my goodness. You will be a different person 6 months from now, okay? Yes. And so let's go to the next question. Number 6. All right, we're going to keep it rolling. You guys are doing great. So we're answering relationship questions. And the next question that was asked is, what's the difference between trauma bond and true love? Woo! This is a good one. And I'm just going to scroll up, make sure I don't have any questions. What's the difference between a trauma bond and true love? Because it can be confusing. Well, a trauma bond is intense. It has high highs and extremely low lows. So you feel like it's emotional roller coaster, and there's a lot of dependency. Like I said, in a relationship, there should be interdependency, right? But not codependency, where you're just on top of each other all day and you cannot do anything by yourself. You know, it's great to work out with your partner, to have your partner also be a business partner. But if you feel like I can't go to the gym unless my partner, then think ask yourself like, what do you think is going on there? What do you think is going on there? Now with love, there is respect. There is communication. When I say communication, assertive communication, all right? We're not talking about aggressive, passive aggressive. And no one's communication style is perfect, but assertive is being direct, but in a loving way, okay? Because some of us, we just flying off the handle talking about, I'm keeping it real. No, you're keeping it aggressive, okay? So there's respect, communication, security, security there, and there's mutual growth. You both should be growing together. If you feel like you're outgrowing your partner, you're doing a healing work, and your partner is just, womp womp, that could be an issue. Okay, you guys need to be growing together. Yes. And so that was question number 6. You guys are on fire here. All right. Let me drink a sip of water. Make sure you hydrate, guys. It is summer, okay? It is summer. And this weather has been interesting. I mean, the whole globe has been interesting. But that's a whole different topic. We not stay focused. All right. And so the next question we're gonna ask is number 7. How do I start healing from a toxic relationship. Woo, that is hard, especially if you've been in a relationship for a long time. I know someone who just left a 13-year relationship. Um, they were on and off, on and off. That is hard. That is hard. And it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. I hate to say it. It's not going to happen overnight. But with therapy, with journaling, and I gave you some prompts. And if you missed those prompts, you can watch the replay on YouTube. I would say cutting off contact. You don't have to completely go no contact if you're like, oh, that's kind of harsh. But yeah, that person should not have the same access to you. There should be boundaries, guys. Okay, that person should not have the same access. So you have to redefine your self-worth outside of that relationship, because all you know is I was this person's person, and maybe you're still holding on to what you wanted to occur in a relationship. Sometimes we have to grieve our expectations, the future. We were planning on doing this, we were planning on buying a house together, going on this trip. That is tough. And so create new relationship. If you guys always went on a specific trail, don't go on that trail. That's triggering, especially not right away. But try a new trail. Okay. And so what is one small way, guys, that you are choosing yourself this week? What are you doing for self-care? What are you doing? I'm going to give you a moment to think about that, right? Because this is all about mental health. Am I right? And sometimes we're so focused on the grind, we forget to celebrate our small wins and engage in self-care. So what is one small way you're choosing yourself this week? Think about that for a minute. Ponder that. All right. So we're going to go into the next question. Okay. And a lot of relationship issues happen because of this. Can people really change? A lot of times we're dating people that have potential in our minds. Okay, we're like, oh, I see his or her potential, so boom, I'm gonna work with it. And you're waiting for them to change. Ooh, that is a huge no-no. Okay? The answer is yes, people can change. But only, I'm gonna stress, okay? But only if they want to and do the internal work. Because some of you guys out here, you know who you are. You're waiting. Well, it may not happen. What you see is what you get. If you're not satisfied with who you are with at this moment, and you're thinking, wow, I'm waiting for them to change, that's a recipe for disaster. You have to ask yourself, this person that I'm with, can I see myself with them for the rest of my life? If not, you wasting your time. I don't know what to say to you. You are wasting your time. Okay? You need to just accept the reality. And that could be hard, right? But think about it when it's flipped. If somebody was waiting for you to change, now when it's flipped, it don't seem so hot. You're like, ooh, clutching your pearls, right? Nah, that don't feel good. So yes, we shouldn't wait for our partner to change, and we wouldn't want them waiting for us to change either. Now, I'm not saying don't compromise, but I'm talking about major changes, okay? Major changes. And so thank you for joining me on TikTok and YouTube. If you want to watch the replay, always catch the YouTube, okay? I see you beyond the cabin. Thanks for joining. All right. And so we're gonna invite any further questions. Drop your relationship questions below, okay? And I will answer them. All right. This life is about healing and respect. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. And then from there, we're going to recap some key points. Okay. Yes, for those who are tuning in at the tail end, we're going to recap. I'll give you a moment. Talking about relationship issues, and we all got them. Okay, we all got them. So if you have any questions, don't be shy. We're live on YouTube and all right. So let's go ahead and do a quick recap of some key points when it comes to relationships, boundaries, red flags, and dating. Okay. So number one, right? Why do we toxic relationship patterns? Well, a lot of times it's trauma bonds. We're familiar with toxic, right? From childhood attachment styles. And a lot of times we have unhealed wounds from caregivers, all right? So you have to ask yourself, what type of relationship dynamic do I tend to fall into? Ouch, right? Hard question, but important. Thanks for joining. I see you, Asantal. I hope I'm not butchering. Thanks for joining on YouTube. I see you, Jelly. All right. Now, the next points we want to make is what are red flags and boundaries? Okay. So, again, we talked about love bombing, gaslighting, inconsistency. Okay. You feeling drained, confused, on edge, walking on eggshells. Especially if the person mocks your emotions and avoid accountability. Whew. Those are some huge red flags. Huge, huge, huge. All right, protect your peace, people. Protect your peace. That is not love, right? So, what's the difference between boundaries and control? We said that boundaries protect your peace, while control try to change others. Okay, so an example of a boundary is I need time versus you're not allowed to go out. Okay, that's control. And so consider what's a boundary you had to set recently. What is a boundary you had to set recently? And so, how do unresolved trauma and anxiety affect love life? Well, let me tell you, when you have unresolved anxiety, you can self sabotage your relationships. You also are on edge and you are not emotionally. All right. Sometimes when things get stressful, you just withdraw. Okay. Or that's your partner. Ghosts. When things get tough, you end up in a hospital. I don't know. Someone passes away and they just ghost you. And you're like, that doesn't make sense. My time of need. Yeah. Unresolved trauma and anxiety will do that. Okay. So how do you start healing from a toxic relationship? We talked about therapy, journaling, and I did share some cognitive journaling, cognitive behavioral therapy prompts, on the YouTube. Check the replay, guys. And don't use your relationship to define you. You have to redefine your self-worth outside of that person. Because before you met this person, you was a whole person with hobbies, right? But then sometimes we become so enmeshed, we forget who we are. You just spending every second with the person, and that's not healthy. Every healthy relationship involves some interdependency, but then you have your own hobbies and things like that. Okay? Can people really change? Well, yes, but only if they want to, and only if they do the internal work. So if you're with someone, what you see is what you get. If you can't imagine yourself with that person for the rest of your life, just leave the relationship. Okay, leave the relationship. Don't waste your time because time is a resource you can't get back, guys. All right, money comes and go, but time doesn't. How about that? Let me say that again to those in the back. Money comes and go, but time doesn't. Messy every day, just reach fan love. Thank you, fan club. Thanks for joining the fan club. Yes, we're celebrating. I appreciate that. Yes. Woohoo. Thank you. Congrats. Okay. And so, those are the key points. And so I want you to drop some emojis if you enjoyed this live, guys. It's free. All you gotta do is click that button, all right? That's what I say on YouTube. If just subscribe, it's free. Okay. Yes. And you know what? I am so glad that you guys tune in. Join me every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time, okay, guys? So you don't miss the next live, because we getting into it. We're talking about healthy habits. We're trying to heal, okay? Yes. And we're doing it for free 99. How about that? Free 99. But you know what determines your healing is your follow through. So journal, spend time in nature. Do not underestimate the power of sleep. You see my pillow here, my therapy pillow? Do not underestimate the power of these emotions of sleep, because that will help you manage your emotions, right? And so thank you for joining me, guys. And I'll see you on the next live. All right. Peace and love as always. Yes.